Do you wish you could get virtual attendees to turn their cameras on? Is engagement the number one issue on your virtual meetings? Do you want your meeting to be the most engaging virtual meeting? Well, welcome to the Engaging Virtual Meetings podcast. In this podcast, we'll talk to the top people around the world in virtual meetings and give you, the listener, the best ideas to host engaging virtual meetings. Make sure that you click subscribe so you can get the latest episode of the Engaging Virtual Meetings podcast. Now, let's welcome your host, the author of the #1 Amazon hot new release, Engaging Virtual Meetings, Chen. All right, this is Chen, one of your co-hosts for the Engagement Show. And of course, I'm here with my good friend, Roger Haskett. Roger, what is happening with you today?
Well, I don't know. Today's a pretty good day, but what happened last week is that I went to the Engaging conference, by this guy named Chen. I think we're going to talk about that. Yeah.
Excellent. If you are watching this on any of our live streams, make sure and hit the subscribe, share, like, and do some commenting. We are looking for you. So yeah, we have the Engaging conference. So excited to let people know that that we completed. This is the 4th conference. It's amazing how fast this time has gone. Things are happening, and that we achieved some really astounding things that happen here. So let's just take a peek here. It was called the Engaging Conference, The Secrets of Planning Engagement. It happened from October 23rd through the 25th. And I'm already put up registration, Roger, for the next conference next year. And by the way, Roger, I have decided that this next conference is going to be hybrid. So you need to think about if you're going to get your Canadian body into the United States territory. But before we do that, I'm gonna highlight 3 moments inside of here. Roger's also got some other things that we'd like to share. So these are 3 things that really happened that were engaging during the conference that were unexpected. And the first one, I'm going to give a shout out to our good friend Phil Mershon, who wrote a book called Unforgettable, right? Creating Unforgettable Experiences. And here, Roger, is he led the teams to create like a closing jingle or a closing song. Mm-hmm. And I just want to share, I could have never wrote this, right? I could have never architected this into a meeting. But let me share a little video about what the one of the teams did. So here we go.
On the 5th of conference, Phil brought to me, making it momentous. Zoom background, working lunch, backward design, everyone, and connection.
Oh, that's awesome.
My goodness. All right.
That was amazing.
Yeah, there's nothing you think,
John. Talk about engagement.
You know, there's nothing you think would be worse and not engaging, such as trying to sing on the same time in virtual. But this actually turned out to be one of the most memorable moments. So they did the 5 days of Christmas, except it was the 5 hours of engagement. And so that's where the song, I don't even know what the lyrics are still, although I think she did send them to me. But it
doesn't matter. It doesn't matter.
Matter.
It doesn't matter because we just saw a group of people fully engaged in something that they knew what was going on. Even if we don't, we still see the engagement. It leaks through, it splashes through everywhere.
And the key here too is that, everybody else was engaged because they were laughing because basically, right, it doesn't work. And it's actually the fact that it doesn't work is what makes it work. And so every single person was engaged with this. And this is what's great when you, the instructor, give control to the audience, and then you get something unexpected back that's better than like the what unquote the normal assignment that you assign them to do. And anyways, everyone was laughing at this moment. It was a great piece of energy and levity, and there actually was value inside of there because they actually did something for the 5 speakers that were on that day. So.
Well, and not just that. I mean, there's so much value everywhere in it because all of those faces are communicating how present they are, and not just present, they are like happily, joyfully present.
Yeah.
Like watching you in the corner laughing, you're like laughing, your body is shaking, you're laughing so hard. These are moments that you definitely want. And so when I was teaching actors, one of my Rogers rules was mistakes can be golden, because what would happen in an audition is someone would make a mistake and they'd stop. Like I'd be teaching the class and they'd stop. And I'd be like, what are you doing? And they'd be like, oh, I made a mistake. And I'd be like, oh my God. The one thing that is real in a mistake is that there's truth everywhere. Everywhere is truth in a mistake. And that is golden, like the power of that. And to see what could be seen by other people as a mistake, go through the process and come out at the other side like a brick of gold, like that's amazing.
Yeah, I think the other piece that's really important there too, Roger, is that it proves that it's live. Right?
Oh.
This is not some pre-recorded keynote from somebody who got everything right. I think that mistakes quite often signal that this is live, and quite often the authenticity of the mistake adds value to the live program so that people really understand this is like happening now. This is not some manufactured movie that everything is perfect. So
100%. Well,
100%.
you can't see it. It's over top of my logo.
I see it.
But I totally agree, 100%. And the power of doing something virtual live, yeah. I've always believed it. Like like when people say you can record it, the keynote, and we'll do it, and I'm always like, why? Like, can't I be live so I can respond to what's happening in the space? Like I can respond to questions, I can respond to faces. And it's so interesting, the difference, because so many people are like, well, no, it's safer when it's recorded. And I'm like, safer, but are we here for safety or are we here for actually engagement? Because engagement can be messy, but it's worth it.
Yeah. Yeah. Safety might not be engagement. In fact, safety, I think we're so used to like finely tuned commercials that we tune those out. But when somebody makes a mistake, that's actually what happened here too. People were turning cameras on, or people were coming back if they were tuned out going, what's happening on my screen? I got to see this, right? Yeah. You know, the other side of it too, Roger, is this. Everybody loves a train wreck.
Yeah. Yeah. Like you can't not watch it.
Yeah, you can't not watch it. And so, okay, so speaking of other things not to watch, here comes the second example. So here comes the second example I have for you today. Right here. Okay, good. So what happened in this scenario is that our good friend here, Shiraz Babu, is an amazing speaker. And I do believe Roger got to see a little bit of it.
I did.
But Shiraz does this whole thing where he really works with people in a short amount of time, and he gets them to talk about sometimes really deep psychological things.
Extremely deep things.
Yeah, like these are really like things that are blocking people from their success, which is usually yourself. So the reason why I got to explain this photo though is so key. This is the power of a virtual meeting, Roger. Okay, my good friend Mel is in a cruise ship. She is in a cruise ship in the Caribbean, and she bought the Wi-Fi package. So her signal is coming out of the cruise ship into a satellite and back to our meeting. Okay, so now the second part is that she's in her bathtub. Right? Because that was like the best place of where the signal was. She actually tried to move outside, and the signal was worse because the Wi-Fi point is meant for inside the room and not for the deck. So she found that the best place she could stay connected with us was in a bathtub. And then and then the third thing is that Shiraz worked with her, and just really like this really personal block that she was having, and she volunteered, by the way. Nobody was forced to get on stage with Shiraz. Every single person said, I want to talk to you, and every single person that talked to Shiraz like had their own version of breakthrough. And so this
and not just that, there were like one or two people that volunteered at the beginning, but the moment Shiraz started, the volunteers filled up. Like I watched them going, everyone all of a sudden put up their hand to be like, I want to be part of this. Even though it was diving into people's psyche, well, not even though, because it was diving into people's psyche, and we were seeing people make breakthroughs.
Yes. Yeah, get emotional, make breakthroughs. Here's the key piece here too is that even if you didn't raise your hand, every at least camera that was on that I could see, right, was enraptured. This is a great piece. This is why I brought Shiraz, is that the engagement of watching somebody else change is engaging. And then the second part that Shiraz knows, I got to talk to him afterwards, and he just says, quite often, it's the person who never volunteers themselves who really changes and never says anything because they're listening to this conversation. So I can tell you many people engaged in this part, even if they were listening, even if they had cameras off, they had their mic off. When even by listening to this conversation, often some of them reported back and said, "I made a change too. I just didn't tell you."
Well, it's 100%, because what you're doing with that is you capture the people who don't mind being the center of attention, but there's all this massive group of people who really don't like being the center of attention, especially if it's involved diving into themselves. But those people have things to learn as well. And so the ability to see what Shiraz was doing and to apply it to your own life was quite it was fascinating. It was quite inspiring.
The key here too, Roger, right? For everyone who's creating conferences, summit, masterclasses, you gotta pick the right speakers. You gotta pick the right people. MC, speakers, staff. Right? There's all these different roles, and this is like proof in the pudding here. When you get the right speaker, again, I've seen Shiraz, which is why I picked him. Work with groups like this. And to me, it really fit one of the things that I feel so strongly about. When you create psychological safety, you create engagement and you allow people to talk about things, even if they're deep and personal around that. And that is engaging.
Well, the number one, we talked about this in a previous session, the number one factor for creating engaged teams is psychological safety. The one that underpins all engaged teams is the ability to have psychological safety. Absolutely.
Yeah. Okay. So here's the last observation I had from this year's conference, which was this great point. It was too freaking engaging. So you already talked a little bit about it, but I had other people, Roger, who came back and told me later, and they said, I couldn't put this in the background. I couldn't, right? Like I'd start listening. It was either so good, like they wanted to engage, or that, right? You tell me a little bit more, Roger. I think you said you had the exact same problem.
Let me tell you my story. So I was there for Shiraz and the AI component, which I'd like to talk about a little as well. So we had a really busy week. This last week was the week that we had tons of our holiday events pour in for bookings. And we had a whole bunch of gigs, which I'm going to talk about one in a minute. So I was really busy and I couldn't make the first day. I made the second day. But what happened is exactly this. I had planned I was going to do a bunch of work off to the side because I have a bunch of work I have to do. So my plan was to be watching, listening, contributing, but also getting this work done. And then I found I kept going, I'm not getting my work done because I'm too engaged. Like it's too hard to turn away. And so then I would do this. I would be like, I've got to get this thing out. I've got an email to get out in the next 20 minutes. I shut down the conference. I literally shut it down. You were so successful. I shut it down, turned and did 15 minutes of work and done it so quickly and then got back onto the thing to find out what I had missed and then listened for the next hour and a half and then went, I've got another 5 minutes of stuff to do. It was so honestly, John, you know what it's like when you're in most virtual conferences where none of the focus is on engagement. What happens is that you can do a huge amount of work while you are engaged in the conference because there's no real engagement. You're not really actively participating. You're mostly doing your work, but you managed to make something that was so engaging, you couldn't do stuff to the side. You had to either focus or get out, which is pretty amazing.
So we had that in another conference too, where somebody said that finally reminded her that, oh, look, I paid for this conference. I want the value out of this conference. So she did the same thing. She shut it off. It was a different conference, right? Got the stuff out of the way
Yeah.
and then decided when she logged on, she was going to focus. She was going to engage back too. Engagement is not a one-way street. Engagement is a two-way street that, even if you're attending, that if you give your engagement to the conference, it gives you everything back, which is the experience, the education, and what you need.
So I like to think of it as engagement is not a spectator sport. Engagement is not a spectator sport. You don't sit in the stands watching. You are involved, even if it's just cheering, even if it's like it takes your focus, it takes your energy. So on that note, I just want to share this one thing. So this last week we did 3 events and totally 3 different ones, but I wanted to talk about this one. We were talking about a little bit of success stories because this is what we got back from our Name That Tune. Michael, this is, my general manager, my brother. I cannot thank you enough. I'm speechless. This was an absolute pleasure to work with you. The night was a huge success and I was thrilled. Here's the point. I was thrilled to see my colleagues step out of their comfort zones like never before. Right. So this is something that I believe engagement creates, always the opportunity for people to participate deeper than they normally do. Now, this was a client who had already had Family Feud earlier this year, Murder Mystery earlier this year. Name That Tune was this quote, Comedy Magician they booked for Christmas, and we also did Mud Pie Kitchens for them. This, within about a year and a half, we've done 5 events for this group because they keep coming back, because they keep giving us these type of comments saying, this is what engagement does. And that's what I saw at your conference as well, John. So much, all the people focusing, going, oh my God, I'm absorbing what's going on by participating with my energy.
Well, let's talk a little bit about the AI too. So you were inspired by the AI portion of the conference to do some things, and I actually want to replay a little section of it here. But Roger, tell me what were you inspired to do from the AI segment?
Okay, so we talked about AI last time, and that twigged me, and I was like, okay, I got to spend some more time on AI, and then I didn't. And then I went to your conference, and I went to the day specifically where you were talking about AI because I believe there's real value in AI. Aside from ethics issues, whatever, still for business people and for creative people, there's real value. And so the stuff, I have like a page of notes about AI, creating a digital clone. I love that idea. Looking at things by generation, making things shorter, etc. All these different things that were popped up in your session about AI. So since then, I have not only bought, I've subscribed to AI, the 4.0, like the one you have to buy. And I've spent the last couple of days diving deep into it to figure out how I could be using AI as a small business owner to help me get a bunch of stuff done that I don't want to do or I don't want to spend as much time on, as well as all the things that we do well. Like I'm good at creating content, but with AI content management, I get to all of a sudden take the things that I've done or the things that we've done, John, put it through the AI brain and come out with, hey, here are 7 videos that are going to get more attention than the ones you had before.
Amazing, Roger. Here, let me just share this too. And I just got to give a huge shout out to my very good friend, Rick Altman. By the way, his virtual conference, the Presentation Summit, is happening next week, starting Sunday. You can still get a virtual ticket to it. But these are the people who create presentations that look like these. So one of the pieces here is what we call the race to 1 million. So to prove and show and really showcase what's happening or how fast AI grew, this is what we call the race to 1 million users, okay? So Netflix took 3.5 years, okay? Kickstarter and Airbnb, they both took 2.5 years. Twitter took 2 years. Foursquare, here's a bunch of other, right? 13 months, Facebook 10, Dropbox 7, Spotify 5, Instagram 2.5 months. Now here's the key. ChatGPT's number is there too, but you can't see it, right? They did it in 5 days. 5 days to 1 million users. That's why people like myself and Roger, he says, you got to go and figure out what this thing is. And I hope, Roger, that the combination of graphics like these, amazing presentations, engaging live demos, gets back to you. And this is the thing I think that's so important. When you get great engagement, you change your behavior. You change your behavior, and because that's one of the hardest. Nobody wants to change, Roger. But if you finally get inspired to change, right, then that's really
engagement makes it easy. So I talk about this all the time on stage. I talk about, we think about change being difficult because it often is. But the moment you change the way you see something, the moment you change the way you think about it, you change the way you act towards it. And if you want real behavior change, work through engagement because it allows you to unlock in locked areas behaviors that people think are out of reach or are not within their personality or not doable. Engagement makes, I believe engagement's a superpower. It allows us to do so many things that you couldn't do without it.
Yes, and yes. So here's what's on my horizon too. One of the other parts too is that to create real engagement, you gotta keep innovating. Right? Because once you get this level of engagement, now people are going to go, what are you going to do next year? So I just want to share, Roger, right, that next year we're going to go completely hybrid. We're looking for venues right now. We're almost done. And that means that we're going to have not a huge live audience. Probably the max will be 150. Then we'll have a virtual audience of up to 500 in Zoom. And then, of course, everyone else and the free tickets will be out in YouTube. And we're really look to create something very, very unique next year and getting to figure out who are my best presenters hybrid. So that's where I'm going to push the boundaries next year. Roger, what's on your horizons for engagement?
For me, with AI or just in general?
Anything, up to you. What's good? Roger's wish for 2024.
Oh, well, my wish for 2024, we're still coming back from a pandemic. And my wish is that we get busy enough that the performers, the amazing people that I bring in to do many of the things that we do when I can't do it myself or things that I don't do, I want to have enough work that I can go back to pre-COVID times where I'm we're doing 15 shows this month. So I'm giving all of these people, these amazing, talented people, lots of work. To me, that one of the hardest things about COVID is that all of these amazing people that I have around me didn't get to do the things that they were put on this earth to do, which is to perform, to make people laugh, to make people think. So to me, 2024, I hope that we are so through the roof busy so that I can say to all of these people, let's make up for the last 3 years.
Outstanding. Roger, thank you so much. We hope you enjoyed this episode of the Engagement Show, and we look forward to seeing you next month at this time when we bring you another piece of engagement. Thanks again, Roger.
Thanks, John.
This is John Chen, the author of the Amazon #1 hot new release, Engaging Virtual Meetings. I personally want to say thank you for listening to the Engaging Virtual Meetings podcast. It is my passion to help you eliminate bad virtual meetings. Make sure that you click subscribe so that you can get the latest episode of the Engaging Virtual Meetings podcast with all of the latest ideas. Hey, I want to meet you. If you want to talk about a virtual meeting challenge, or if you want to be the next guest on the Engaging Virtual Meetings podcast, just go to engagingvirtualmeetings.com/meet. That's engagingvirtualmeetings.com/meet, MEET, and find your best time to meet up. Thank you, and I look forward to engaging with you online.